you're a fighter, Cole. We talk about it regularly. This thin-skinnedness that seems to exist, well, you like it because Anthony Joshua got his knickers in a twist a couple of times when I called him a flat-track bully about some of the things that I felt that he hadn't done. Fury's gone off the reservation now, banning everybody that even says anything that vaguely he thinks is critical, even if it's interlaced with fair comment and interlaced with facts. And now it seems to me that they're all at it. The moment you say anything that isn't praising of them or has some sort of criticism attached to it, boom, the gloves are off, metaphorically. Is that just standard fare for you guys when you're in the sport, or is it specific and relatable to Tyson and his gang right now?
It's a very good question, and I think the reason we're in the position we're in now with Tyson Fury and his dad and people getting upset, Anthony Joshua, with people's comments is because the times have changed. So if somebody said something about me that was derogatory or negative, it may or may not take up a little bit of a space in the boxing news. Where now if somebody says something critical or analytical, they will be instantly accessible on social media, whether it be Instagram, Twitter, on one of these talkSPORT shows or radio. It just gets out there and it's in your face and it's readily available at the push of a button. You're looking at your screen, you're like, he said this 10 minutes ago. So, no, I didn't used to get wound up to answer your question, but maybe if it was in my face every day, I'd be...
But don't you think that the Fury's being slightly sensitive about the whole situation,
So,
and like with the dad jumping in as well and jumping on you?
I'm being honest with the way I'm answering it. When people were critical, I used to think, who said that? Well, Jeff Powell's been good to me, but Colin Hart from The Sun, you know, he's had a bit of negativity there, but then you forget about it and nobody else is talking about it, where now if you say something, everybody's talking about it, especially if you're Tyson Fury, and Anthony Joshua. So I can't say if it would bother me or not, but I do think that they are oversensitive. You've got to be open to criticism. You've got to be able to take it on the chin and say, okay, that's your opinion. No, it's got to be fair.
Not stupid criticism.
But it's always fair. I mean, you get a load of idiots and trolls on social media. You just ignore them and you push them off the water off a duck's back. But when it's coming from somebody of my standing or your standing, we're entitled to our opinion.
Sure.
We should be able to have our say, and they should be able to take it on the chin. And if they want to come back with something that's constructive,
away you go.
We'll debate them like you do. You debate them, you invite them onto the channel, I invite them onto my channel. I mean, but this don't happen. They just ban you from going to the show. talkSPORT aren't allowed to go to boxing anymore. For me, that's ludicrous.
Listen, question. Where do you think that Tyson Fury sits in this current modern era? His CV, where does it sit in this current modern era? When you're talking about resumes, and and John was very upset about that. Where do you see him sitting against the likes of Anthony Joshua, Deontay Wilder, and these current heavyweights?
Well, you're only as good as the era that you're sitting in.
Yeah,
and
but
it's all about boxing.
Where
it's all
does
about
it stack
time.
up with the others?
It's up there, isn't it, with the top two or three?
Yeah,
it's definitely.
But is
there.
it the best? Is it the best, or would you say that Anthony Joshua's CV is better than Tyson Fury's right now? When you go through the list of names,
he's probably fought more. If you look at box rate, there's probably more green lights and there's more wins versus losses on his record. But the performance against Deontay Wilder was pretty special. When Wilder was a big gunslinger and he was landing big and knocking everybody out, so that's a good win. Where now a Deontay Wilder win isn't that good. If AJ goes in there tomorrow and beats Deontay Wilder, you'll say, well, what Paul did it to him? So it's all about timing. So Tyson Fury does deserve his position in the top three, and if he beats Usyk, if that fight does indeed happen, then he deserves the top spot for me. But it's in the current era.
Because I mean, you make the point, Spence, and I look back on over the history of, forget Ali era, but then move to the next era above it, because it's an easy go-to of Ali, isn't it? But then you go to Larry Holmes, right? Then you go to Mike Tyson, then you go into Lennox Lewis, right?
Yeah.
And you look at the fighters that those guys fought. You look at, I followed Lennox around the world, watching him fight Hasim Rahman, watching him fight Evander Holyfield, watching him fight Michael Grant.
You forget how many good fighters he boxed.
Razor Ruddock, and on and on and on and on.
He beat 14 world champions.
Well, this is my point. And then you look at Larry Holmes, who got much underrated because he followed the Muhammad Ali era and never got the credit he should have got.
Riddick Bowe, Holyfield, that whole era.
And then you look at Tyson and where he fought, where he fights TNT and he fights, Tyrell Biggs and he fights Trevor Berbick and he fights Michael Spinks. I personally don't think, with no agenda attached to this, that this generation of heavyweights compares.
It's not as competitive
to what the previous generations that you were trying to get Carl to opine on.
Yeah, but do you think that now this investment with Saudi Arabia, and we're going to get these guys, like we're going to go through later on in the show, you go through the list of heavyweights and where they're all sat right now. They'll all be boxing out in Saudi Arabia. When you look at it, and you've got like Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Alexander Usyk. You've got Daniel Dubois in the mix out there as well, and you've got these young ones like Filip Hrgovic coming through, and the others that are coming through. You will see these guys fighting now, I think, because the investment to Saudi Arabia will force that, and I think that's going to be a big changing of the times. I think
we're not seeing it yet, though, have we?
No, but I think we're going through that transition now.
Fury and Garner, now we've got AJ and Garner. So when are we going to see these big fights?
I think it happens 2024. I do. I truly do.
We'll wait and see then, won't
Listen, May the 18th, do you think that's a realistic date for these two to get it on?
If they both won it, potentially.
No, but do you think that Tyson Fury's eye will be able to repair by May the 18th? Now,
it's tough to say, isn't it, that?
He's not being stitched inside, though. From
Stitched,
what I understand, it's an outside stitch.
Durant said
it's also 15 weeks. It's nonsense that it's 3 months, it's 15 weeks, not 10 or 12 weeks.
12 weeks from the old date, Feb 17.
Yeah.
So enough time.
Yeah, interestingly, Stitch Durant, who was a top cut man who you know, he said that cut it's not the vessels, it's the tissue that's torn.
Yeah.
So he believes that fight will be able to go ahead. And I think the $1 million question, Cole, is if he can get through the training, without coming out unscathed. How does he get through that?
Listen, that's going to come down to his desire and how much he wants it.
But you've got to have intense sparring, haven't you, going into a fight of that magnitude? So how do you protect that?
Well, you can wear a head guard with a face protector like I used to wear to protect the old bugle. You know, the old battering ram that I used to walk around with on my face and just barge through punches.
I tell you what, that looks sensational now, by the way. If you look back on them videos, some of them.
Hang on, you never told me.
They looked like a budgie, wasn't it?
You told me it looked all right. All right, Spencer. You know, jug ears over there, giving me stick.
It was like,
you can get pickles out of a jar with
it was like a beak. It was. No, so I was just.
But anyway, what are you saying? What was you saying actually before the insults flew in? I can't remember.
How can you get through the sparring?
Yeah.
So
how will he? Yeah. How will he get through it?
Plenty of Vaseline on the eye. You can even patch over the eye.
Do you believe we get it May the 18th?
I think we have to now, because if we don't, the Saudis are going to get upset.
Yeah.
And Tyson Fury's credibility is going to go through the floor. He's got 12, 15 weeks. I think we'll get this fight.
We've now heard that he's got 5 fights in mind.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Do you think we get to see them? Obviously, about a year ago, Carl, he talked about, I've got 10 fights. I'm going to give a pension to my old mate Derek Chisora. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to do the other, right? That then distilled into something else, and we've obviously had the Saudi phenomenon come on the landscape, and that's changed the direction. Ngannou comes out, he fights him, right? But he's now got 5 fights on his radar, which is 2 against Usyk, apparently, 1 against...
2 against AJ, 1 against Ngannou, isn't
Joshua. Okay, and then 1 against Ngannou. What do you think to that? And what do you think is likely to be the outcomes of those?
Well, there's appetite for all of them fights. Usyk obviously will want that one. The rematch will depend on how the first one goes. If it gets badly beaten out of box, he might just think that's the end of me because I ain't got the desire or the energy to get back in the ring. He's got enough money to just retire and sit on a desert island for the rest of his life. But it's where is he mentally? So we move on from the Usyk one. You've got the Anthony Joshua fight. We still want to see Fury AJ, but that's based on how the fight goes with AJ and Ngannou and how Fury does with Usyk. So potentially 2 fights with Usyk, and then 2 fights with Anthony Joshua. I don't even think we'll get 1 fight with Anthony Joshua, but he's talking about something that potentially could happen because that's what we want to see. And then the rematch with Ngannou, and that'll be dependent on how AJ does with Ngannou. So there's too many variables, and not to mention the names that are involved. The fact that he's talking about having 5 fights, and he's now 35 years old, and he fights once a year. He's going into he's heading towards 40 years old. He struggles to get the weight off. He's up and down mentally, regardless of what he says. I'll let you some facts and statistics, and he's slowing down massively. He used to throw 50 feints around, 50 feints, always throwing feints, light on his feet, fast hands. He doesn't even throw 15 feints. I've sat and watched it and counted them, marked it down like a sado, like a geek, like a tech geek, and I've been marking down and watching him. He's slowing down. He's on the slide. He's been on the floor 5 times in his last 70 rounds of boxing.
He's definitely adapted his boxing style in recent fights. I think it was at the beginning or the second Wilder fight, you saw a massive change in his style where he holds his feet more, he pushes forward more, where he used to be very light on his feet, and like you say, fainting all the time.
He's getting hit a lot more now. And when you start getting hit at that weight, you have problems.
I believe that the fight happens...
Because everyone applauded that, didn't they? Because everyone applauded you're saying, boys, that are you saying structurally he's not able to do what he once did before, so he's
you can't do it.
Do you know, like it's like when you look at like a young Mayweather to a Mayweather in his late career, you look at it and you go, the good fighters, they've got that adaptability and they learn to adapt and control fights and change fights differently. And like Fury's sort of doing that. He's gone through that transition now where he can't move around on his feet anymore because he is 35 years of age and he carries too much weight.
That's one of his biggest assets. And
so that's why he's getting in these fights.
So now he's sitting flat-footed, not throwing as many fights, getting hit with more shots. He's getting on for 36 years old. He's getting bigger and heavier. The desire's not there. We saw that in the Netflix show. So has he got 5 more fights left with these top-level contenders? I'd say no. But